best friend. Didn't care about the rules, good on the weekends. I'll be in fools, drifting to deep space. So brave and so stupid, just like the movies. I was gonna stay in the fight with you, just thinking we would do this until we couldn't do it. Each and every high, every night with you. You and me so close.
All right, I'm going to try to go live on this platform. So, yesterday I did a live stream on Facebook, and I talked a little bit about the history with Turkey in the Middle East, and I told people on there that I had said in previous posts that I had that Turkey would get involved in whatever's coming. And they've been doing behind-the-scenes deals with China and things like that. And I basically broke it down and told about their play in Syria and different things like that. So tonight I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on that. And I'm going to share a video under the Fair Use Act, and then go over a couple more articles about Pompeo's involvement over there and trying to keep the peace and things like that. So let me get stuff situated here, and then the phones are open. You can dial the number that's scrolling across the bottom of your screen. It's 1-408-638-0968, and then put in the member ID 534-233-4758. And I'll take your calls live. I have to screen and I have to do everything like that. So the video's a little grainy. I'm just working off a laptop deal here, but let me get situated and we'll start. All right, so the first video I'm going to share with you is titled Turkey-China Relations, Economy, Defense, Cooperation, and Agenda. And this is going to explain a little bit about what's going on over there. The underhand deals that they do in China for China, able for them to gain a foothold in the Middle East, so that opens trade routes from Asia into the Middle East. And then that way they can go through Asia and they can continue. So basically this is a, I guess you could say, a snub to the United States. So they're going around us, they're getting their funds, and they're opening trade routes with China. So they're making allies. They're going to be a major player in what's coming. So I'm going to get to this and let you guys hear what they have to say.
Geographically, these two leaders live more than 6,000 kilometers apart, but common geostrategic and economic interests may be closing the gap. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping are both revisionists who believe the international system is unfair and needs improvement. They oppose politics of unilateralism and economic protectionism.
We will continue to open our market and improve trade and investment facilitation to ensure the free flow of goods and services. We will build a diversified financial system and a diverse capital market. We need to conduct extensive and enriching cultural exchanges.
Trade between the two countries is worth around $25 billion. But there is an imbalance in China's favor, which Turkey wants to correct. It's also pushing for trade in local currencies. During Erdogan's visit, the two leaders will also discuss the Belt and Road Initiative, China's mega plan that seeks to create intercontinental trade routes and links.
The Belt and Road Initiative can be seen in the context of competition between the US and China. The US is the dominant naval power and the global trade is carried out overseas. If the US wants, it can close down the Malacca Strait and the Suez Canal. In that case, China would not be able to export its goods to Europe or import energy from the Middle East. Therefore, China is developing these trade and transportation lines across the continent. There are 3 routes. The first passes through Russia. The second one is the midline, which includes Turkey. The third is the southern route through Iran.
Turkey seeks to capitalize on its geographic location and serve as a link to Europe. Presidents Erdogan and Xi are also expected to discuss defense cooperation. Ankara feels let down by traditional Western allies, who it says...
All right, so I just said about the trade route, so let me go back here for a second on the video so you can look at this map. So this is basically the map where they want to open up this trade route here. It goes from China all the way to Russia and Venice. I mean, so they're undermining, you know, our plan to get out of a global governance and economy, and China is actually creating it. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Soros was stated saying that if the NWO was going to be left to anybody, that China should be the ones that lead it. So we're headed there slowly, but let's get back to the video.
Through Iran.
Turkey seeks to capitalize on its geographic location and serve as a link to Europe. Presidents Erdogan and Xi are also expected to discuss defense cooperation. Ankara feels let down by traditional Western allies, who it says take a rather ethnocentric approach to international relations. Some believe Eastern political philosophy may align more closely with Turkey's vision of a mutually respectful world. And that aside, President Erdogan is determined to diversify defense partners. Hassan Abdullah, TRT World, Beijing.
So that's the gist of that. So Turkey's basically undermining the U.S. They're going and they're getting financial backing from China. They're going to open trade routes that go in from China into the Middle East up into Moscow. So they're going to undermine the United States and basically do their own thing. So I was going to get into a couple more articles here. And read these. So this article says Pompeo, Graham backed Trump's approach to Turkey's Syrian excursion. So it says the Washington Tribune, Secretary of State Michael Pompeo led the defenders of President DT's handling of Turkey's excursion into Syria, saying Sunday that a ceasefire is holding, that the U.S. goals in the Middle East are being met despite criticism. Allies are being betrayed. So I told you yesterday that it's a 5-day. It's a 5-day ceasefire, but it didn't make it past. I think the first day there was sniper fire and there was shelling going. I shared this yesterday in my Facebook live stream. So they're still continuing to shell and they're still continuing to keep up sniper fire. Erdogan, in another video that I watched, said that if there was no compliance during this period, basically they're building up forces, and when the ceasefire is over, they're going to start a bombardment. In so many words, he said it more eloquently than that. But so This is Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, a recent sharp critic of Trump's Syria policy, also came around saying the president was thinking out of the box. Earlier in the month, Graham suggested Trump's withdrawal from northern Syria made him want to vomit. Pompeo said he received a report Sunday morning of relatively little fighting along the Syrian border, after he and Vice President Mike Pence brokered a temporary ceasefire with Turkey President Erdogan in Ankara last week. He insisted the U.S. interest, including preventing ethnic cleansing of the Kurds in the region and a resurgence of the Islamic State, or ISIS, are being served. I'm very confident that this administration's efforts to crush ISIS will continue, Pompeo said on ABC this week. But New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez, the top Democratic on Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and others on Sunday morning political shows called the administration actions a mistake that abandons the Kurds and other allies while bolstering Russia's position in the Middle East. I think the secretary lives in a parallel alternative universe, Menendez said on ABC. Former Army General David Petraeus said on CNN's State of the Union that the U.S. has abandoned its Syrian Kurdish partners and called the U.S. actions a grave strategic mistake. This does not end an endless war, he says. It probably prolongs it. Critics say Trump gave Erdogan the green light to attack American allied Kurdish militias, risking the resurgence of the Islamic State and a slaughter of the Kurds. He then pulled U.S. troops out of Syria. The president often makes policy on the fly, said Pete Buttigieg, the 2020 Democratic presidential hopeful. What President Trump does is wake up in the morning and have a phone call or maybe a tweet and completely change years or even decades of U.S. policy. Surprising his own generals in the country, Buttigieg, the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, said on NBC's Meet the Press. So basically, this article's, talking about the potential reinsurgence after the ceasefire. It's talking about China's participating in it. It's not all necessarily true. There's news coming out of so many different places right now saying that they are complying to the ceasefire and that they aren't complying to the ceasefire. We don't really know. I take things with a grain of salt. So, take it as it is, but I will say this. Keep your eye on Turkey. Watch the deals that they do behind the scenes, especially with China undermining the U.S., getting their bailouts, and just keep an eye on them. They'll be a major player in whatever war we're coming into next. So I'm going to get into this article, and this kind of goes along with what I was saying earlier about the bailout that they had received from China. So China bails out Erdogan's government, but its biggest crisis in demographics. By 2040, most of Turkey's young will be Kurdish. So China's $3.6 billion bailout insulates Turkey from the U.S. So Beijing's biggest support package for President Erdogan arrives at a critical time. Despite the U.S. threat to obliterate and destroy Turkey's economy, the Turkish lira and Turkish interest rates barely have budged in the past week. Turkish stocks, especially banks, are down sharply, in part due to the U.S. criminal charge against Halbank for aiding Iran's sanctions violations. That's remarkable given the fragility of Turkey's currency earlier in 2019. Between February and May, the Turkish lira fell from 5.2 to the US dollar to 6.2 in response to US sanctions, before recovering to 5.88 to the dollar today. The Turkish central bank leaned on Turkish banks to refrain from offering liquidity to short sellers, but Turkish money markets remained orderly. What changed is China. Turkish President Erdogan's insolence in the face of America's threat brings to mind Brer Rabbit's imprecation to Brer Fox. Please don't throw me in the briar patch. The relevant foliage, in this case, it's bamboo. So you're starting to see allies built up. You're starting to see, there's other guys that I watch, kind of inspired me to do this. Marfugel for one, and then Dabu 7, and I've been watching Dabu for years, way before Marf even started, before Adam started. But so I mean, Dabu came out yesterday, and he played a thing about this, and I'm not going to use this stuff without his permission, obviously, but alliances are being built. You have Israel in the middle of all this stuff, and war is it's going to happen. I mean, regardless of what people think or not. Let me see if I can find something real quick. I'm looking up this. Hang on a second, bear with me. So let me switch over here. So I said this the scripture yesterday whenever I was talking about what was going on. So in Luke 21:20 it says, "When you see Jerusalem being surrounded by armies, you will know that that its desolation is near." So this all goes into play. You have the different kingdoms that are affiliated with end time prophecy and things like that, and what you're going to see is, unfortunately, Israel being surrounded by its enemies, and we're slowly seeing that now. And it's like this says, when you see Jerusalem being surrounded by armies, you'll know that its desolation is near. And people talk about, Damascus needs to be destroyed, which Damascus is in Syria. And from what I understand, it's been destroyed an ample amount of times recently also. So I'm going to get into this. So I went through those two. So I'm going to get into this. Turn this down a little bit. So this is Bernie Sanders draws thousands to rally New York and come back after a heart attack. I'm not necessarily a fan of anybody, but I thought that I would put this on here. So U.S. presidential hopeful Bernie Sanders returned to the campaign trail in New York City on Saturday, 3 weeks after suffering a heart attack, and pledged to resume a full throttle his battle against the business and political establishment, including members of his own Democratic Party. Right. So old Sanders is back after he suffered a heart attack. Let's hope he's doing well. I don't necessarily agree with his politics or whatever, but he's still human. I wanted to get into this, if it'll load. So we all know about old Hillary Clinton and her email stuff that was going on through WikiLeaks and stuff, John Podesta emails with the DNC and different things like that. So apparently 38 people were cited for violations in the Clinton email probe, and this is from the Associated Press. It says the State Department has completed its internal investigation into former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's use of private email and found violations by 38 people, some of whom may face disciplinary actions. The investigation, launched more than 3 years ago, determined that 38 people were culpable in 91 cases of sending classified information that ended up in Clinton's personal email, according to a letter sent to Republican Senator Chuck Grassley last week. The 38 current and former State Department officials were not identified. The investigation covered 33,000 emails that Clinton turned over to review after her use of private email account became public. The department said it found a total of 588 violations involving information then or now deemed to be classified, but could not assign fault in 497 cases. So out of 500, in 88 violations, they couldn't find fault. In assigned fault in 497 cases. For current and former officials, culpability means the violations will be noted in their files, will be considered when they apply or go to renew security clearances. For current officials, there could also be some kind of disciplinary action, but it wasn't immediately clear what that could be. The department began the review in 2016 after declaring 22 emails from the Clintons' private server to be top secret. Clinton was then running for president against Donald Trump, and the now president made the server a major focus of his campaign. Then FBI Director James Comey held a news conference that year in which he criticized Clinton as extremely careless in her use of the private email server as Secretary of State, but said the FBI would not recommend charges. The Justice Department Inspector General said FBI specialists did not find evidence that the server had been hacked, with one forensics agent saying he felt fairly confident that there wasn't an intrusion. Grassley started the investigation on Clinton's email server in 2017 when he was chairman of the State Judiciary Committee, and the Iowa Republican has been critical of the Clintons handling classified information and urged the administrative sanctions. So once again, we have people getting away with stuff they shouldn't get away with, and like I say all the time, you know, if it were any of us, they would bury us under the jail. But what are we gonna do? You know, we're just people, peasants in the system, and I look at it this way. You know, if there's a constitution for all, which you guys should get one of these, but if there's a constitution for all and they're gonna prosecute us according to the laws in the Constitution, then the law is for all or it's for none. So everyone needs to be prosecuted equally according to those laws, and not just the select few. But you know, here we have an elite class and basically a peasant class, and unfortunately, a lot of people are starting to wake up to what's going on. So this is a crazy little deal, if it'll load. Okay. So this is a thing about police and protesters face off in Barcelona during mass demonstrations. I'm going to play another video for you guys, so you can kind of see what's going on. There's protests happening everywhere. I think Libya's having a protest right now, or Lebanon's having a protest right now. So this one's out of Barcelona, and this is just a short little video of what's going on there. So as you can see, cops are starting to show up. So that's kind of the beginning of it. I'm going to skip forward here. There's people gathering here. Check this out. Not really a whole lot of sound on this one, on this in particular part, excuse me. But you get the gist of what's going on here. There's obviously breaking out into a civil war over here. See if we can skip forward a little bit here. So that's basically just that one. So we're going to look at the Lebanon riot that's going on right now. Like I said, there's riots happening all over the place. So let's take a look.
أحزاب ولا شيء، نحن شعب واحد، إيد واحدة ضد الدولة، بدنا إياها تسقط. ثورة 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 ثورة. أنا البرنامج بس الله بس بشيء.
is
بعدنا
just
لانه
another
صرنا
one that's
30
going
سنه
on.
اول شيء عايشين على الكذب. نحن هن قاعدين باسرتهم على حساب الشعب، سياراتهم على حساب الشعب، اللهم صل على طياراتهم على حساب الشعب. نحن متنا الجوع، هن بياكلوا احلى اكل، اولادهم بيتعلموا باحلى جامعات، اختنق ماتت العالم. طب وبعدين لوين؟ ما بدك الشعب ينتفض؟ وهيدي الانتفاضه وان شاء الله ما بتوقف.
So there it is. There's rioting happening all over the place as we speak. But you know, pray for those people. You know, we don't necessarily understand what they're going through if you're here in the United States, but do pray for those people. They're human beings. Just like the rest of us. So just pray that God is with them and what they're going through. So I'm going to go to this other, a couple more articles here. This one is absolutely insane. It popped up on my Twitter feed. So the article says this video shows a high school football coach disarming a student and preventing a tragedy. So it says the surveillance footage of the incident, which happened in May, showed a high school football coach disarm and hug a distraught student, allowing another teacher to remove the student's weapon. This video sparked praise for the coach, as well as observations about de-escalation. So, you know, I'm a huge Second Amendment advocate. I'm from the state of Oklahoma, and my family personally, me and my older brothers had to use self-defense. Home protection. We had a man break into our house whenever we were younger. I mean, like, I think I was 9 years old at the time, 10 years old at the time. We had an intruder break in, and my older brother shot and killed him. And it was a big ordeal. And then back whenever she's 14 now, my oldest daughter, whenever she was 6 months old, we had a guy come in to our apartment, and I shot him. I didn't kill him, but I shot him in the leg and wounded him. Both justified shootings. So, you know, we were raised around firearms, and there's ways that you talk to your children about the handling of firearms, the mistreating of firearms, that they're not toys or anything like that. And you know, be involved in your children's life, because we don't know exactly everything they're going through. They bottle things up, and you know, they act on those emotions. But here's the video down here. So let me enlarge this for you guys. This is actually very courageous and miraculous that this coach was able to do this. So let me put this on real quick. There's no sound to it, but you can see the individual with the firearm here, and the coach just grabs him and hugs him, and takes the firearm from him, and it's a pretty emotional video. She just talks him down. big ups to the teacher there and the gentleman that disarmed him. I hope everything's all right with the young man and that he makes it through whatever he's going through. So basically, I wanted to try this on here, stream it on YouTube. I streamed on Facebook, and I'm trying to get the hang of this, you know, switching between the screens and running my broadcast program and things like that. But I'm going to continue to do these. I'm also on Facebook, and that one is under the Kingsman Report on Facebook. You can look up there. I post news articles and different things like that. And sometimes I live stream over there. I'm trying to live stream over here. I don't know how it's going to go per se, but everything that I talked about, you know, with Turkey and Syria and the trade routes with China and undermining the U.S., just keep an eye on that, what's going on. And I'm going to try to report about things that are happening currently and things that we foresee happening in the future. And I'm by myself. I've done this for a little while. In my past, I got in trouble for investigating certain people I shouldn't have been investigating, and it got me in trouble. I have my press credentials. I don't go out much and personally investigate anymore. I just read news articles all day long. But I'm going to take some of what I know and some of what I read, and then I'm going to bring it here. And hopefully it'll draw some people in and you can catch up on this. But I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. You guys stay up, stay positive, and pray for each other. See you guys next time.
You were my best friend. Didn't care about the rules, good on the weekends. I'll be in fools, drifting to deep space. So brave and so stupid, just like the movies. I was gonna stay in the fight with you, just thinking we would do this until we couldn't do it. Each and every high, every night with you. You and me so clueless. We were just broken, shattered, singing along to nothing matters. Stray around like nighttime rumors. We were in too deep. In your worn out sweaters, thinking we'll be young forever. Driving in your mom's old hatchback, and we were in too deep. Cause I'm thinking we'll be young, be young, be young. Cause I'm thinking we'll be young forever. Cause I'm thinking we'll be young, be young, be young. Cause I'm thinking we'll be